Hi, everybody. Okay, so I I get to further explain why everything took so long because they were supposed to start at 9 a.m. But I have learned with this judge, they never start on time. If they start on time, it's a miracle. Okay? Because what usually happens is she comes to the bench, she's on the bench, and they say sidebar, and that means 5 or 10 minutes after what they said, if you're lucky. And then they call in the jury, and then they start the day, right? So today, they're supposed to start at 9, and they said that they were going to start early. Well, I was up way too early, but I was up on time, and they didn't start at 9, not even close, because they had a sidebar. They finished the sidebar, and then they had another sidebar. And an hour later, they started the closing arguments. So now we're at 10 a.m. and she says, I have allotted to give each side an hour and 15 minutes to do their closing arguments, but I won't stop them if they go a little long. So Alan Jackson went a little bit long, not too much. But Hank Brennan went really long. But okay. So I am so serious about this. I took notes about what they said, and I always try to do if they proved what they said they were going to prove in the opening statement versus the closing argument, right? Okay, so I'm not going to show you my notes, but I'm going to use my notes and then talk about what I thought about when they were doing it. You like my journal here? Okay. So, all right. I got to get to the page. Okay. So, for some reason, the Commonwealth goes last in Massachusetts. Don't ask me why, that's what they do. Okay. So, Alan Jackson Defense got up first. And he talked about, let's see. He talked about how somebody. Oh, yeah. Okay. So at first, the Commonwealth wants you to believe that a car accident happened, a car collision happened, because it kind of hinges on two things. They want you to believe that Karen Read, with malice and while intoxicated, ran into John O'Keefe, therefore causing the injuries on his body and causing his death, right? I said I didn't agree with that. I said from the beginning of the first trial, I said, okay, here's what I believe. Somebody beat him up in that house. Because also you have to remember that John O'Keefe and Karen Read were outsiders as compared to this circle, okay? And a lot of people call them the McAlberts because it's the McCabe's and the Alberts. And they get together and they're in this clique. And if you're not in the clique, then they don't protect you like they would those people, right? Okay, so his theory, or I think they proved it, was because of the injuries, meaning I talked about it before a little bit, but I'm going to go in detail. Okay, so he had the raccoon eyes, which is when you get hit under your eyes, both eyes, and you have like two black eyes. They call them raccoon eyes. Then he also had injuries to his like lip and some other places, and then the dog. It looks like dog scratches and bites and stuff on his right arm. Other than that, no injuries. So that's another reason I said a car collision probably didn't happen. And I can say, based on a decent degree of reasonable doubt, that that did not happen that way because there's no other injuries consistent with that. Okay. So then, oh, okay. So I said, okay, somebody hit him, then they let the dog, Chloe, attack him because they had a dog, they had a family pet, Chloe. And somebody else talked about this, but they said if you have a dog or pet, usually the pet takes on the emotions of the owner. So, meaning if you're happy and whatever, then your dog is going to be kind of nice and whatever, and like still protect you, but not have the mean spirit, right? Whereas if you're angry, then they'll take on the personality of angry and want to bite people or whatever they do, right? Okay. So I said they let the dog attack him because also they got rid of the dog after the incident, but they tried to couch it in. They got rid of the dog because she got in another incident with somebody else, and then that's when they rehomed her. Okay, so and then that happened, then that happened. Then somebody put the body outside, like left him in the snow. And then, yeah. 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 So, okay. But for me, it has to go with the line I told you. Somebody hit him because here's what I think. Either Brian Higgins had a crush on or whatever Karen Read, right? But the block in between that is John O'Keefe. And I didn't see this until the second trial because they didn't show it. But you can clearly see in the video from the bar that Brian Higgins sees Karen Read with John O'Keefe, and John O'Keefe had given Karen a kiss on the forehead, and they were like really lovey-dovey with each other. And you can tell that Brian Higgins is getting more and more angry and frustrated watching this, right? So, okay. So then after that, Brian Higgins sends John O'Keefe a text saying, "Are you coming here?" And you have to understand that he's prepared for a fight. And if you've seen this dude, he's a big dude. Okay? And then so I don't think that Brian Higgins intended to unalive him, but I do think he intended to beat him up. Okay? So here's what I think happened. He beat him up. It went too far. Somebody said, "Oh my God, didn't plan on this happening. What are we going to do?" So then Brian Albert, a homeowner, gave Chloe the permission or whatever to attack him, therefore causing the marks on his arm. And then somebody threw him in the snow to make it look like he died from hypothermia. However, there's one caveat to that. Some expert, I forget her name, I think it was La Posada or something, said he didn't show signs of hypothermia, which means he did not die or unalive from hypothermia. So see, it doesn't match up. The picture they want you to believe, the story doesn't match up with the facts. Then you add the science to it, physics, it just doesn't add up. But I gave you a very detailed map of how my brain works, but I don't know if the jury caught on to that. I don't know. I would hope so, but I don't know if they did. So we'll have to see. Because right now we're in verdict watch. Because after the closing arguments, then the judge gave the jury the instructions, and that took another hour or so, and they've been in deliberation ever since. So, whenever we get a verdict, I'll definitely share it, but I just don't know when it's going to come in. I would think it's going to come in, you know, immediately within the first day, but I've learned with juries, you never can tell. So all right. Thanks for sticking with me through that explanation. All right, bye, guys.